For most of my life, I believed hard work was enough. I believed that if I showed up early, stayed late, and gave everything I had, eventually someone would notice. I was wrong. 3 years ago, I got what I thought was my dream job. The company occupied one of the tallest office buildings in the city. The lobby looked like something out of a movie. Marble floors, glass walls, expensive artwork. Everyone seemed successful. The first day I walked through those doors, I felt like my life was finally about to change. I didn't come from money. My mother worked multiple jobs while I was growing up. Some months we barely made rent. I watched her sacrifice everything so I could have opportunities she never had. Because of her, I promised myself that one day I would succeed. Not for luxury, not for status, for freedom. The job wasn't glamorous. I started near the bottom. Long hours, low pay, endless pressure. But I didn't care. I was willing to outwork everyone. Every morning, I arrived before most employees. And every morning, there was one person who was always there before me. The janitor. He looked like he had been working there forever. Gray hair, wrinkled hands, the same old cleaning cart, the same faded uniform, the same quiet expression. Nobody paid attention to him. Most people walked past him as if he didn't exist. Some didn't even bother saying hello. A few treated him worse. I remember watching executives step around his mop bucket without acknowledging him. Managers would complain if a trash bin wasn't emptied quickly enough. Employees would leave messes and expect him to clean everything up. It bothered me. Maybe because I remembered where I came from. Maybe because I knew what it felt like to be invisible. So every morning, I greeted him. Nothing special, just basic respect. Sometimes we'd eat lunch together. Sometimes we'd talk about life. Most of the time, he listened. I talked. I talked about my goals, my frustrations, my fears, the bills I was struggling to pay, the pressure of helping my mother financially, the feeling that no matter how hard I worked, I was falling behind. The funny thing is, he never gave much advice. He mostly listened. But somehow, I always left those conversations feeling lighter, like someone understood. Meanwhile, life inside the company became increasingly brutal. Everyone was competing against everyone else. Coworkers smiled in meetings and stabbed each other in the back afterward. Managers took credit for work they didn't do. Promotions seemed to go to people with connections rather than ability. I kept telling myself to stay focused, keep working, keep pushing. One day it'll pay off. At least, that's what I hoped. Then, everything started falling apart. Rumors spread throughout the office. Departments were being cut. Budgets were shrinking. Projects were disappearing. People started whispering in hallways. Nobody knew exactly what was happening, but everyone could feel it. Something was wrong. Then came the morning that changed everything. I'll never forget it. The entire company was called into a meeting. Hundreds of employees packed into the main auditorium. The executives stood on stage. They looked nervous. For the first time, they didn't seem powerful. They seemed afraid. A few minutes later, we learned why. The company was bankrupt. Just like that. Years of work gone. Careers destroyed overnight. People cried. Some shouted. Others sat in complete silence. I remember staring at the floor, unable to process what I just heard. Everything I'd worked for had vanished in a single sentence. I packed my belongings into a cardboard box. Family photos, a coffee mug, a notebook filled with goals. As I walked toward the exit, I saw the janitor standing in the lobby. For some reason, I stopped. Maybe because he was one of the few people I'd actually miss. I thanked him for listening to me all those years. He nodded. Then he said something strange. He told me to come back tomorrow morning. That's it. No explanation. Just a request. Honestly, I almost didn't go. I had bigger problems. No job. No savings worth mentioning. No idea what came next. But something told me to show up. So the next morning, I returned. And what happened next changed my life forever. When I arrived, the building looked completely different. Luxury cars lined the entrance. People in expensive suits filled the lobby. Lawyers, investors, financial advisors, television crews. I couldn't understand what was happening. The company was bankrupt. Why was everyone here? I walked inside. Then I froze. The janitor was standing in the center of the lobby. Except he wasn't wearing his uniform. He was wearing an expensive, tailored suit. And everyone was gathered around him. People were shaking his hand, following him, waiting for his instructions. The same executives who never acknowledged him were suddenly treating him like royalty. Nothing made sense. Then one of the lawyers approached him and handed him a stack of documents. The lawyer called him Sir. The executives called him Mr. Harrison. And suddenly I realized something. I had never known his last name. Not once. For 3 years, I'd known this man, yet I knew almost nothing about him. The crowd moved toward a conference room. Someone opened the doors. Inside was a giant screen displaying the ownership records for the building. At the very top was one name, his name. My stomach dropped. The building belonged to him. Not just this building. The next slide appeared. Then another. Then another. Office towers, shopping centers, apartment complexes, warehouses, property after property. The list seemed endless. Millions became tens of millions. Tens of millions became hundreds of millions. The janitor wasn't a janitor. He was one of the wealthiest property owners in the entire city. I couldn't breathe. Everything I thought I knew shattered in seconds. Then came the part I'll never forget. He asked everyone to sit down. The room fell silent. The executives looked terrified. The investors looked curious. I stood in the back, completely stunned. He began explaining why he'd spent years working inside his own buildings. He wanted to observe people, not when they were trying to impress someone, not when they thought they were being evaluated, but when they believed nobody important was watching. He talked about character, integrity, respect, humility. Then he started describing people. Managers who treated cleaners like garbage. Executives who looked down on others. Employees who only respected people with titles. The room became uncomfortably quiet. Many people couldn't even make eye contact. Then he said something that made my heart stop. He said there was one employee who treated him with dignity from the very beginning. One employee who expected nothing in return. One employee who remained kind even while struggling himself. One employee he trusted. Then he looked directly at me. The entire room turned. Hundreds of eyes suddenly focused on me. I wanted to disappear. Instead, he smiled. And for the first time in years, I saw something I'd never noticed before. The janitor I'd known all those years wasn't looking at me. The owner was. He announced that he was acquiring the building and launching a new company. Then he offered me a leadership position. Not because I was the smartest, not because I was the most experienced, not because I had the best resume, because of who I was when nobody was watching. I felt tears in my eyes. The same people who ignored me the day before were staring at me in disbelief. The same executives who never knew my name suddenly knew exactly who I was. And in that moment, I learned something that changed my life. The world is obsessed with appearances, titles, money, status, followers, but none of those things reveal who a person truly is. Character does. The way you treat people who can do nothing for you. The way you behave when there is no reward. The way you carry yourself when nobody is paying attention. You never know who is watching. You never know whose life you might impact. And you never know when a simple act of respect will become the opportunity that changes your entire future. Because sometimes, the person pushing the mop isn't the least important person in the room. Sometimes, they're the most important person there.